Is a career in hospitality right for you? That is exactly what we will discuss in the course of this episode. Welcome to the Zista Podcast, where we invite industry professionals and thought leaders to answer burning queries raised by students. In this session, we will be focusing on a query raised by students interested in hospitality. I'm your host, Amit Ahuja. Joining me today is Mr. Sarosh Daruwalla, the country head for Les Roches, Glion Ecole Ducasse. Welcome to the show, Sarosh.
Nice to be here. Thank you, Amit, for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
To begin, I'm going to request you to introduce yourself, please.
All right. So yes, I at the outset I have to put a qualifier that very early on in life, I knew I was not cut out to be a scientist or go into commerce, but I was always good with people.
Right.
I love to eat and drink and have a good time. So
Don't we all?
yeah. So it was natural that I chose a career.
Right.
Of course, in those days, 35 years ago, it was hotel management. So I started my college, studied hotel management, joined the industry.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with the Taj group of hotels. My forte was always food and beverage, even though I'm a reasonably good chef, though it's home cooking, but my forte was food and beverage service. And I worked in the industry for several years. And somehow along the way, in terms of advising people on careers in this industry, I actually had the opportunity to switch to education.
Right.
So it's interesting that you called me for this podcast, because now I speak with an industry hat on, and at the same time I know what education is required for someone to pursue a career in hospitality and actually become successful.
Great. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Sarosh. Now, as you know, the focus of this session is to really understand. A lot of students are thinking, how do I know if a career in hospitality is right for me? And if it is right for me, which career should I pursue? So I'm going to ask you to take that question head on and delve into helping a student understand whether this is the right career for them.
Sure. I think in this industry, the first and most important thing that you must have,
Right.
is attitude. Or you must have a very, very good attitude. A good attitude is something that usually people are born with and then gets cultivated along the way. And I think for a human being, because this is a human business, so you must be human. You must love being around people. While there are some jobs where you can sit behind a computer in a cubicle, all of us know that hospitality is being out there on the field, on your toes, for the best part of the day. So I think you have to be good with people. You have to be somebody who likes every day to be different. You have to crave excitement, okay? Because no 2 days are the same. Every day there's something going to be new. Every day you're going to have a different guest in front of you, a different challenge, and you have to find a solution on your feet, okay? So I think a good attitude. Also, what you would need is a sense of adventure. This is not a career for static people who like to be static. Okay, you must like to be, if you like adventure, if you like travel. If you are a hotel general manager, you're not going to stay in one place for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. No, you're always going to move, you're always going to evolve. So that comes with part of the territory of being in the hospitality business. Anyway, for most careers now, as I see it, the world is so small, this global village that we all speak about. And we've seen Indian hoteliers, making their mark not just in India, but in all parts of the world, whether they work entrepreneurially, whether they work professionally. We've seen it in other industries, and I think hospitality is no exception. So that's also there. You have to, in this industry, also what a student needs to think about is, are they willing to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty? Because
So
you see,
important.
if you've not done it yourself, how will you be able to run a team? How will you be able to manage a team? If you've not stood in dishwash, you will not know what it takes. If you've never cleaned a room, is it going to be your job when you graduate? Certainly not. But you need to be able to inspire and lead people. If I was a food and beverage manager, and if I walked into the restaurant and I saw your glass of wine empty, well, I'd stop, I'd top it up, I'd ask you if there was anything I could do to make your experience nicer, interact with the customer and move forward, just as I would help somebody with their bags. I wouldn't wait for a bellboy to summon a bellboy. And I think that's the attitude that I'm talking of, that willingness to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty, to lead by example. Today, when teams that you lead see that you are able to do it, they will follow you, I think, and learn to respect you, because again, respect is something that is earned. So I think these are the things that a student really needs to see in perspective of positive attitude, a willingness to serve. You be happy when you see other people happy. I think this is really one of those professions, and I'd like to say this, that it has a lot of emotional reward as much as career and financial reward.
Okay.
It really rewards you on all these planes, because again, you're interacting with people. And when somebody, acknowledges you for having made their experience wonderful or marvelous, I think that gives you a lot of emotional satisfaction as well, which sometimes a lot of mundane, automated jobs really don't give you. So I think that's what also makes this quite special as a career.
Correct. I think what I'm hearing you say is that students really need to pay attention to detail, very importantly, have a spirit of service, and focus on delivering exceptional customer experiences. And if you look at hospitality traditionally, hospitality would be about, jobs and careers in hotels, restaurants, bars, different kind of establishments like that. But I've also seen the industry expand. Do you think, students or the common person looking at hospitality is aware of these kind of options? Could you maybe elaborate on that?
Well, it's my life's work, actually. It's what I've been saying for a larger part of my career for the last 15 odd years in education, where people I have seen tend to have a very myopic view of hospitality. So, I mean, imagine if you were a little kid and you went to your parents and you said, "Hey, Mom, I want to make a career in hospitality." Well, what traditionally comes to mind is a career in hotels, restaurants, resorts, bars, a little bit of travel and tourism. I mean, that's what everybody associates hospitality with.
True.
Well, it was that, many, many years ago. It was largely vocational. But you've got to understand that what people like me studied was vocational skills. We learned operations and worked our way to the top. But the industry got more sophisticated. So students needed good operational skills, but they also needed good business skills. They needed good analytical skills, and of course soft skills of being living and working and dealing with in a multicultural environment. And what happened was that these vocational careers gave way to business degrees, and I think that's been the single largest factor for a young student to note, that when they do hospitality management, it's essentially learning business management with hospitality as a profession, which will make you employable.
more than just the traditional hotels and
Absolutely,
restaurants?
absolutely, and I'll explain why.
Sure.
You see, when you learn hospitality through a hospitality pathway, like I said, you've got all these managerial skills, you've got operational skills, and what happens is that these skills are very, very transferable. And what we've seen over the last 4 to 5 years is this traditional hospitality industry has actually evolved into the international experience economy, because we've seen students, I've seen students who graduated from hospitality schools, who are getting jobs now in real estate, in luxury brand management, in financial services, in media, with social media. They're in e-commerce platforms. We're working with aggregators, part of the sharing economy, international events. I mean, that's big everywhere now. We see different sports leagues,
Wedding planners.
wedding planners. I mean, all of that is in marketing, in sales, and in retail. So what I think the evolution is that you have hospitality students who will always want to be in hospitality. I mean, that's what they originally chose. But more and more, we are seeing these transferable skills recognized by all these other companies. Whether it's a bank, whether it's in the automobile sector. I mean, just think about it. It's about giving a good experience.
Sure.
And experiences are had anywhere where there's people to people connect, there's an experience.
Absolutely.
And there's service. So that service transcends all areas of our life. And that's what makes this such a great job. Because you have the skills that you need that lends to any of these careers.
Fantastic. I like what I'm hearing. Many times you hear brand strategists say that don't think in terms of products and services, think in terms of experiences that you can provide to your customers. And I think in that context, the kind of grounding and the kind of exposure that a student would get in the field of hospitality is a really valuable skill set, I would say, across a wide variety of service sectors. But let me ask you this, Sarosh, and from your perspective, what kind of skills do students need to succeed? And I know partially you answered that in the initial part of this episode when you were talking about an attitude for service and the paying attention to detail, focusing on people to people skills. But are there any other skills that come to mind when, if a student has to succeed in hospitality?
Yes. In terms of the skill set, especially post-COVID, I think we've seen this skill set getting a little refined. So clearly, for people who are in hospitality, business skills are very important. And if you look at the basic business skills of complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, innovation, decision making, and leadership skills, I think these are common to any business program. You'd see this everywhere. But hospitality gives you those people-centric soft skills, which, if you ask me, are as important, but in many cases more important than just the business skills. To have emotional intelligence,
Right.
to be able to anticipate guest need,
To empathize.
to empathize, absolutely. Managing large teams of people. As a hotel general manager, you have 2,000, 3,000 staff that work and report to you. You think of the millions of touch points every day in your establishment, and you're responsible for them. So, I mean, great leadership skills, collaboration, team working. To be a good leader, you have to be able to lead from the front without having to look over your shoulder to see what your team is doing. You must have that confidence, and again, you get that when you lead by example. Today, when you look around the workplaces that we have, not just in India but all around the world, I mean, they're so multicultural. So respectful of people and cultures, I think, goes a really long way, because this kind of cultural learning, if you had to compile it into a textbook, could be taller than me, if you actually look at it from that way. And I think finally you have to be adaptable,
Right.
and flexible, because we're seeing this evolution that's happening in the industry, the way different companies are recruiting hospitality professionals. So all this is pointing to an individual who has all the traditional business rock solid skills, the operational skills to be able to lead large teams, but also all those soft skills and empathy that is required to deliver those great experiences.
Fantastic. I think you cover that really well. And I was reading an interesting article, which was talking about when you said touch points, it kind of sparked my memory about that. And a hotel actually captures so many data points relating to a customer, and you see artificial intelligence entering so many different domains. My question is how is the hospitality industry leveraging this data? Is artificial intelligence playing an important role in hospitality? Can you give me an example?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So technology was always playing an important role. I think post-COVID, it's playing an even more important role. Today, guests don't need to come down to reception. They can do things and get information at the touch of a button. So I think really what we're going to see in hospitality moving forward, from a student perspective and also for institutes that impart this education, is to teach a student how to think digital but to act analog.
Wait, because let me get that. Think digital
but
and act analog.
But act analog, because at the end of the day, ours is a people business. So how do you use technology to create a better guest experience? How you can use your mobile phone as a key, how you can already do your check-in before you arrive to the hotel, how you can get information at the touch of a button, which you would normally have to go to a concierge to get. You can capture data points on guest preferences, and you use that information wisely to enhance their future stays with you. It helps bring customer loyalty, build customer loyalty to a large extent. So I think technology is playing an important role. Today, when you have virtual reality, augmented reality, today you're able to create these experiences where a guest could actually have a virtual tour of your property, or check out a new car.
Makes sense.
Or have that experience before they come and see if it's something that they're going to like and eventually pay for. So, and I always say in hospitality, you're going to laugh on this one, but what's really our job is to gladden our guests' heart and lighten their pockets. that's really what we do, because at the end of the day, it is a business.
Right.
It is a business.
So as a business, it's got, I would imagine then, different departments, So a traditional business would have, say, sales, finance, PR, marketing. And I think in the context of hospitality today, social media and digital marketing has become so important, because so many times, even me as a customer, before I'm going to stay in a hotel, I'm just hopping on to TripAdvisor, checking out the reviews, going to different comparison websites to see where I can get the best deal. And I think that digital element is also becoming super important, right?
Oh yes. Digital is the way forward. I don't think it'll replace, but it'll certainly enhance the experience.
Correct. So think digital, but act analog. I like that. That's a fantastic takeaway from this session, I would say. And I think you've really, done a fantastic job in terms of explaining some of the pathways that students can explore. All right.
I'd just like to sum up. So I think for a student who actually wants to study hospitality as a career,
right,
it is what they need to keep at the back of their minds is, yes, it's a career in hotels, resorts, restaurants, bars, but also in all the other areas of the experience economy that I mentioned. So be it in financial services with luxury brands, sales and marketing, retail, real estate, airline industry, events industry. It's a very, very wide career. And I think that really And I see, when I talk to young students, I see them recognizing this now. So that's very positive. And of course, we need people to also work in hotels, because as as an ex-hotelier, I can tell you that the industry needs a lot of talent. Especially, we've seen this renewed enthusiasm for travel, and everybody who had written of hospitality, travel and tourism, as dead once COVID struck, have been shocked to see the revival. We see it all around us. So that's really good. For me, it's something that brings great pleasure.
Absolutely. I think I can echo your sentiment, because when I go to a restaurant today, or if I'm looking to book a room in a nice hotel, it's actually hard to get space, and it's actually hard to get a table. So the industry is doing well. And I was reading an interesting statistic, when I was preparing for this, and I was surprised to learn that hospitality is the second largest employer globally, and it's actually growing, at a steady pace. In fact, it's got a good compounded annual growth rate projected right up to 2030, and that there is a supply demand mismatch, which means that there's more demand for students in the industry than the actual supply of students who are graduating. And I think what can really make this decision easier for students is knowing that when I graduate, there are more than one option. There's more than one option that I can look at, right?
Yeah, if I had to describe it, it's a wave, and it's an interesting window of opportunity for students who want to make a career in hospitality, because every company is expanding. The opportunities are going to be phenomenal, and for those students who enter the industry now and graduate maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, I think they will be able to ride that wave. And I'm hugely optimistic, and I think it would make a great career decision.
Thank you, Sarosh. That was a great session. I really enjoyed speaking to you, and I would like to say thank you for making time to explain everything in such great detail. I hope you enjoyed this session. We hope to create more content like this and keep answering queries raised by students who are looking for the right fit program at the undergraduate level or postgraduate level. So if you have any queries relating to hospitality or another subject area for that matter, please leave us a quick comment. Till then, I would say, stay curious.